What's up, ladies and gentlemen?
Hi.
Hi. Here very shortly, we're going to have an incredibly special guest, Eugene from Fleshgod Apocalypse, joining us. It's going to be really cool. Really grateful to him for taking the time out to do this.
I would pronounce his last name, but I'll butcher it. I'll do it no justice.
Yeah, just watch the man's work, enjoy the man's work, and let's go.
Eugene join.
Eugene. Let's see if this gentleman... I think I pressed them buttons right.
Pretty sure you did. There.
Hello.
What's up, Eugene?
What's up, gentlemen?
Good day, evening, afternoon.
Yes, sir.
I'm a little bit confused now with the camera rotation because I see that you're like this. What should I do? Okay. No.
There you go. We'll all be sideways, apparently.
What do you actually prefer? You prefer to have it like this or like that?
Oh, this is totally fine. Yeah, the way we got it.
I don't. Because what I have right now is, let's say if this is my phone, you're up here and I'm down here, and both are like square shaped.
Yeah. That's the way.
Cool.
Eugene, I'm sorry, dude. I butcher your last name. Please say it.
I was about to ask you to repeat that, actually. I'm curious. Can you do it again?
I think it's, let's see, Eugene Ryabchenko?
Almost.
I'm from the South in Tennessee, man. I can't do that.
It's Ryabchenko.
Ryabchenko? Okay. Ryabchenko.
Привет. And there's somebody in Russian. Привет. Hello there. Yes, they would actually know. It's tough. You should try to go for a soft R. So you would have the harsh R, like the R, the one they have in Russian or German. And because it's like Rya with a Y, so it's like a whatever. Who cares? Ryabchenko.
Well, man, we really appreciate you coming on and doing this. This is a really big thing. So we really appreciate you having on.
Pleasure.
The first thing,
a lot of familiar faces. Actually, I'm watching the chat. The names are popping up, and I like. Oh, I know a lot of people there. Hello, good evening, good afternoon. It's 7 p.m. right now here in Vienna, Austria, and it's 1 p.m. over there, I assume.
Yeah. Yes, sir.
So,
Okay.
man, like a lot of people, man. A lot of people know you, man. You're like what? You're in your 20s or 30s, Eugene.
Let's not even talk about that. Yeah, I'm turning 30 in January, so less than 2 months from now. And that scares me a lot.
Well, man, like that being said, man, you're still a young guy, genuinely in the metal scene, and like
Kinda, yeah.
you're a household name to death metal.
Well,
Like
thank you
if
very
you
much.
play drums and you like death metal, you know who Eugene. I'm not going to butcher it again, but you know who you are, man.
Yeah.
All
Eugene
right, so
Butcher.
let's go real quickly. Go to the timeline. Was it Vital Remains? Was that your first like boom?
Yeah, I'd say yeah. In terms of traveling internationally, doing bigger tours, yeah, that's it. I did session work for other bands abroad because like I was originally I was born in Ukraine, then I moved to Hungary when I started my university studies, my bachelor's in Hungary. I stayed there for like 4.5 years, and then I moved to Austria, to Vienna, where I still continue my studies, by the way. And yeah, so I did lots of session work, both live and studio for smaller bands in the area. So Hungary, Slovakia, that kind of like, let's say, Eastern Europe part. And then Vital Remains was the first big thing that it kickstarted a lot of great things for me, for sure. That was October 2016, so 5 years ago.
So I have to ask, man. Have you always been a fucking badass behind the kit? Because like, man, I listen to Vital Remains, like Be Christianized. I'm like, holy fuck, that man used to play that shit. I'm just now getting like dabbling into death metal and technical shit of drumming.
Okay.
And I'm just like, I listen to Vital Remains, Belphegor, Fleshgod Apocalypse even. I'm like, holy fuck. Yes, sir. Shout out to those guys. Fucking dude in blue. Blue.
Yeah.
Okay,
we got to talk about Blue. So I know that's not something you would generally expect, right? As for, an incredibly talented band like you guys to do such a nostalgia '90s song.
Oh
What
yeah.
happened there? Was it just like you guys sitting around at practice and like, you know what we should totally fucking do? Blue. Like, how did that come about? Because it is
Yeah.
tremendous.
Yeah, it is like something most likely not everybody would expect. I do recall actually the talk we had with Francesco and with all the guys. When was it? We recorded that song a year ago in October, and it was released, I think, somewhere around New Year's Eve, 2020 to 2021, so almost a year ago. And I think the decision was made to do that song specifically somewhere around like summer, so a few months before that. And everybody was kind of skeptical, let's say, the least. So it was like just like, what's the idea? What's the whole reason behind this song? And I do recall because they, from what I know, they did a lot of other covers in the past. I know that they did At the Gates, they did Carcass, they did Rammstein song, I think from on the last Villano album. And so they were always doing stuff, let's say serious stuff, stuff they really like, they really enjoy, and they just like the whole idea was um, that sometimes when you try to do a cover of a song that is like it's a well-known famous song with, let's say, established rock metal musicians, whatever, then you have to be very careful the way that you do it, in order, like, you need to try to improve the song. Otherwise it's like most of the time people are going to be either criticizing, saying, the original was better, what have you done, and this sucks, and stuff like this. And then when you take a song like Blue, which is something completely different, it's like I'm not saying that it's kind of a joke song, but yeah, in terms of, if you try to compare the extreme metal that Fleshgod offers to a song like Blue, almost like you can completely transform that song into something like absolutely different in such way that there you can only improve that. So if by any chance you hated that song because it's annoying, because it was on the radio all the time, then if we give you a version with blast beats and stuff like this, there's no way you're going to hate that. It's going to be just all the good stuff there. So still the same idea, same melody, done in a Fleshgod style. So I think it was a pretty cool move, in my opinion. Something maybe fresh. So yeah.
When I first heard it, I said, "What the fuck is it?" Like when I first read it, I was like, "Wait a minute, this is that song from the '80s or some shit, right?"
Yeah.
Then I listened to it, and I was like, "Fuck."
Yeah.
How does one like come up? Like you guys are very like, when I've seen like when you post your videos on Facebook and Instagram of like your drum cams with the show with these guys, man, everything is very it's orchestrated to a pristine level that I'm just not used to seeing around here in the States. Bigger shows that I've been to, you guys are very, very tight, my friend, and I enjoy it very much.
Thank you. Well, there's obviously a lot of visual and artistic side to the performance. So it's not just about music. Let's say one of the, for me, for metal bands, death metal bands, people and musicians that I work with, and bands that I like to compare to, for example, Decapitated is a great, let's say, kind of a absolutely amazing example to compare other death metal bands to, because if you look at those guys, they most of the time they're always there on stage in plain shorts and metal shirts, and that's it. Nothing. There's like almost no, let's say, visual element to the whole performance. It's just like metalheads go on stage with their instruments and they play the music, and it's 100% of their show is in the music. Okay, so in the music they play. And then there are bands like Fleshgod Apocalypse or Belphegor, for example. There's a lot of visual stuff going there. Lights, fire, outfit, image, a lot of that stuff. And it's part of the experience one way or another. Some bands choose to do it this way, some bands choose to do it the other way. For me, it was always exciting to be like a part of this whole theatrical setup, in my opinion. It's like cool. It's like watching a movie, not just listening to the music, but you go in there and like there's so many things going on. And I was like, I find these things always exciting, so.
I commend you guys for that, man. You guys, like, with all the theoretical stuff and how fast and intense the music is, man, you guys are super tight as a group, and that's phenomenal with the lights and everything else you guys have going on during the set, which I hope you guys come to the States because I will be first in line to buy a ticket.
Absolutely.
And
Absolutely. Yeah, yeah, for sure. For sure. That was like it's a shame what's going on right now in the world. Unfortunately, it's beyond everybody's control. And I was super excited because my first big tour with Fleshgod was supposed to be a US tour, which was March, April 2020. And then that was the first one that got canceled with all the with everything we know that's now happening right now, unfortunately.
No, for sure. And I do want to wind the clocks back a little bit. You talked about early 2020. You joined, correct me if I'm wrong, January, February, around that region, correct?
Yeah.
What
I
was,
mean, it was announced
yeah.
January, February. Like we were talking about that stuff a little bit before, a few days before that. Hey Eugene, let's join.
Officially, it was around that time
Yeah,
period.
yeah, yeah, yeah.
But
Correct.
I do want to ask, how did that come about? Because that's one of those things where, Flesh God Apocalypse is such a well-known band. How was it, how did the communication start? How did it go? How did that come about?
Well, first, actually, I can start all the way back because this whole thing I can build up the whole story because I think it's me joining the band has a cool background story to it. So I first of all I wanted to kind of thank my I have an older brother. His name is Peter, and I wanted to actually thank him for basically pushing me to make a decision to actually do something that led to me joining the band. It was like back in 2018 or 17, I don't recall when was it, a few years ago. And he was like, he was always very supportive. He's also a musician, he plays guitar. And he's always very supportive of my work. And he was like, yeah, Eugene, you're cool with all your drum covers and shit and stuff like this, but maybe you can do it much better because you always do stuff you enjoy. Maybe you could rather try to do some stuff on request, listen what people that follow you. By the time 2017, 2018, I had some, let's say, decent following on YouTube, whatever, Facebook. And he said, like, just try to make a poll, make people vote, and suggest you stuff. Then maybe people are gonna enjoy more if you're gonna be interacting with them. And I said, okay, let's do it. And then when I said, like, okay, I thought, how about people just suggest me to record something? And even before thinking about it, I knew like 99% there's going to be The Violation by Fleshgod. That was like a song that I dreaded for like ever since it came out. And I am still scared of it. I'm scared shitless every time I hear the word The Violation. And so I knew that people are going to request me to do that one. And I said, like, well, this is it. I have to do it, And then I did that one. I posted it. It was like, by that time, it was the toughest thing I've ever done in my life, probably. And a few months after I posted the Violation video, I got contacted by Francesco. So, and he was just like saying, like just complimenting me, say like, oh, that's cool. Awesome. And then, like, that's basically how I just spoke to him a few words. I met him before at the show, at the Fleshgod show back in 2014, just as a fan, because it was like a cool package. They had a Cataclysm headlining, Crisium from Brazil, and Fleshgod, like, insane. So, and yeah, and I met him, like, we took a picture, and that's it. And then, so the Violation thing came up. Yeah, we started talking, and then later, 2019 August, so like summer 2 years ago, he actually came to me with this offer. So he said like, yeah, I saw that you play that stuff, and we are looking for a drummer. So, and we started talking, and that's when he basically kind of made the offer officially, and I was like, and honestly, when he basically like my thoughts, like what thoughts crossed my mind when he wrote me, when I saw the message from Francesco, and I said like, you open the messenger and it says, he said like, hello Eugene, I'm okay, I already knew what it was. I didn't even read the whole message, but I knew what was coming. And the moment that I saw this notification, I'm like, holy shit, I'll have to play The Violation live every night on tour if I agree to this. That was like literally my first thought, because I was basically thinking that I'm going to be hired to do the tough stuff, and that's why I'm hired to do it. So like, and by the time when I got that message, I was like 99% sure I cannot do it. It's just not possible. And that's why I agreed to that. So, and the reason that I like kind of try to stick to this strategy, I had the same feeling, the same kind of fear in the past with a lot of bands. Vital Remains, that was one of the first. When I got the offer to do Vital Remains, I said, no fucking way, I cannot do this. It's not possible. I'm not going to be able to pull it off. And that's why I agreed to that. So it's like jump into the fire. And this is the only way to kind of grow. So of course I'm scared. I was scared and I'm still scared, but that's the sign that it's the right thing to do. So basically that's the whole story behind it. And so ever since that was August, yeah, then we talked a lot and we were planning, and then like what's the schedule, what tours we're gonna do in 2020. Yeah, nothing happened, but doesn't matter. So and that's how I ended up in the band. So it's pretty cool in my opinion.
Absolutely. And I do want to ask, since we're talking about your drumming, your hands and your feet entirely. I think you might be a robot. So if you are, I know you can't say that on camera, but yes, exactly.
Not programmed to do that. You need to ask a different question. I'm not programmed to answer that one specifically.
But I do want to ask, though, your technique for blasting is fucking phenomenal. And I understand, see, we're both drummers. We both have our own techniques. I'm a molar guy. And you perfected and he's fingers. You've perfected and basically revolutionized that by doing the bread cutting shit. Explain how you came about that, because it is truly remarkable to watch you play blast beats from a technical standpoint, because yes, it sounds incredible and crisp and perfection, but watching you physically as drummers, it's almost fascinating. It is fascinating.
I tried it the other day. Actually, I was practicing. I was like, this motherfucker keeps talking about this bread cutting. I'm gonna try it. So I'm sitting there fucking and I just implemented this. And I was like, fuck this, I can't do it, man.
So how did that come about?
Yeah, this is ridiculous, because it's becoming more and more popular, the way that people actually call it this way, because I had no idea, I had no clue how to describe it better. So, and let me just go back a little bit with the foot technique, because there's this thing, like this concept called the pressure swivel, and I am like 99% sure I was the one who came up with that name, with that title, back in 2014, when I was also trying to explain different approaches, how people are using the swivel technique with their pedals, like guys like Ken Bedenev aborted, or me, or maybe like Adam Björk as well, and like, for example, George Collias or Krim, they're using different kind of swivel, whatever. And I do recall I was like just trying to explain the feeling and the motion, the movement that you do with your foot. So yeah, it's like pressure, because it's not like really like this and like that. And then I see people are always like talking about that online, say pressure swivel, and like, but it's not possible that they got it from somewhere else, because I was the only one who called it such a stupid name. So I kind of started a trend. And now if this is the same as going to happen with the hand technique, and people are going to start calling it bread cutter, whatever, that's my fault, because I should have come up with a much better name. Okay, but whatever. Yeah, there was
that's crazy.
That was a friend of mine, actually, from Russia, another drummer, who called it the elbow technique, or something like elbow push, whatever. It's much. At least sounds more like, let's say, serious and scientific. Okay, just give me a second. I need to move my camera so that you can see my pad. I just wanted to show very quickly.
I see you use this a lot in the song "The Betrayal," and
oh yeah,
and I just saw you do it, and I was like, I'm gonna try it, and it didn't work. It did not work at all.
Okay, can you at least see my pad a little bit?
Yeah.
Very good. Yeah, so since you mentioned molar technique, so I wanted to emphasize that this whole bread cutter, whatever thing, it did develop from using molar, okay? So first, it all started like, just, let's say, if you just take I'm a right-handed drummer, okay? Right-hand leading drummer. So when you're using your right hand, you're just going to be playing straight wrists, and then you start applying molar, okay? So you're like accenting a little bit with this whipping motion. So Doesn't matter how you're doing the molar. Let's say you start with like groups of 4. Okay, so 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, like this. Then you have the molar of 3, which is a triplet. Like it has this triplet feeling. 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, and then the molar of 2. Okay. And most of the time, the reason like people are using a lot of this molar thing in a blast beat, let's say you're playing a hammer blast and you're going to be leading on the snare with the right hand. Okay, so left hand on the hi-hat, you know, this the pussy blast, right? The cheating blast. Okay, so 2 feet, you know, like it's the most simple one. I think this is probably the first one that you should ever learn because this is the easiest one to do. It's very easy endurance-wise. You can go fast, and it's like it doesn't require a lot of stamina or speed, whatever. So it's definitely important to learn first because it's very exciting because you are like blazing fast and it's easy and you're not like, you know, you're not going to be struggling like this. So this. And people, let's say if you're using the right cymbal, you're going to be like playing a skank beat on the right cymbal or a skank beat on the hi-hat, and you're going to be always like moving your right hand like this, and eventually you kind of turn your wrist a little bit outside like this. Okay, so you're basically using a lot of this wrist turning motion as if you were using French grip instead of the German. Okay, I mean maybe you play it like this as well, but this kind of thing comes very natural. And then you do this, and when you see people like blasting with the hammer blast, often you see people who don't use fingers, they're going to be doing this also mostly because of the left hand synchronizing with the halftime hi-hat. Okay, so you're going to be doing this. It's the same thing when you're doing a skank beat. You're going to be doing this only because you're used to having the hi-hat here. You're hitting the edge of the hi-hat and it has no rebound. Okay, so like the first stroke is just like it's going to be like consumed by the edge of the cymbal. So that's why you're forced to do this, and then you just make this a habit because you kind of come to the conclusion that doing this molar on any surface still kind of gives you a bit more speed because you can relax. Because the whole idea is that you're doing 2 strokes per 1 movement. Okay, you're not moving the same muscles for every stroke like this, but you're doing this. You have like 1 impulse, and then the second hit kind of comes when you're moving your hand up. Okay, so like the first one and then the second one is just a tap. Well, this is how the molar kind of works. Okay, so you're doing in these kind of ways, and then you start using and abusing this one. Okay, and eventually what happens with the bread cutter, how it evolves into the bread cutter, is that what you try to do is you try to minimize any wrist involvement. So you're not going to be pushing down the stick a lot with the wrist going down like this, because if you use a lot of wrist, eventually your muscles get tired and they start cramping up. And but you need to create this kind of an impulse of a wave. Okay, so like it's the whip. So again, the same as the molar is the whipping motion, and then you just compensate this impulse, whip impulse. Instead of moving your wrist all the time like this, you keep this completely relaxed and numb. Imagine that this part is completely, you lost all the bones, it's paralyzed or whatever, and you need to make this impulse with the rest of your arm, like this, okay? So, and that's why a lot of the shoulder, chest, and elbow, forearm, whatever muscles here have to do the work. This, okay? So it's imagine that you have like some kind of super heavy object on a rope, and you're just like, you know, tossing it, and then it like all of a sudden pulls you there, like a ball on a chain, okay? And this kind of impulse, it starts to kind of, you're pushing it from the chest, okay? So let's say the overall feeling, maybe the muscle group involvement is very similar to doing a push-up, okay? So you push from the chest, and it's like a little bit of this, let's say, elbow, triceps, whatever push. And what's very important is that this part, holding the stick, it has to be completely dead. None of this movement is involved at all. And I'm going to explain to you what's the whole reason in a second. So, and then you start doing this. And so basically, I just make sure that the stick is bouncing, you know, like that I'm holding my stick with the fingers, like this. But all the stress, all the movement and the pressure comes from here, okay? So, and this is the bread cutter, okay? So you basically like imagine that you're holding bread and you try to cut it with a very dull knife, okay? but the wrist is very, very, very relaxed. And what this gives you is that, like, even if you don't need a lot of rebound, you can do any of this on your leg with no rebound at all. So this is very cool because you don't rely on the tightness of the snare skin, whatever, okay? What it also gives you is that the wrist and the fingers are completely relaxed, so you're never gonna actually get cramps in your wrist muscles at all. So you can go on like this forever, okay? You're not gonna be suffering from this lactic acid building up in your muscles. But what you're going to actually feel is overall physical fatigue. You know, your heart is going to start racing. So this kind of thing, it's imagine that you're doing push-ups, but you have to do them as fast as you can, you know? So it's like overall, it's a lot of kind of cardio-related stress, okay? So when you do this, you can do that without warming up. You don't need the muscles to be very, like, nice, flexible, warmed up, and you can just sit down and just do that immediately, even in like the middle of winter outside and wearing underwear. You know, no rebound, nothing. But you will feel eventually physically tired. Okay, so this requires you to be physically in shape, hopefully. Okay, so and this is like the whole idea is that your whole body is, let's say, under certain tension. You kind of feel like you're working a lot, you know, so you're getting tired. But this part is completely relaxed, okay, which is something very interesting. Usually you would kind of imagine to have exactly the opposite situation when you're not moving, you're not involving any of the extra muscles, only the wrist is moving, okay? So only these muscles are involved and the rest of the body is completely immobile. And this is absolutely the opposite, okay? And I think I was trying to figure out if there was somebody who was doing something similar, and there was this show on Discovery Channel called Time Warp or something, I don't recall, when they were like shooting stuff with those very expensive cameras and slowing down everything for like 1,000 frames per second. And they had Mike Mangini on that show, if I recall. I'm not sure. I think it was him, and he was like playing these 300 BPM tom rolls and stuff like this, and they slowed down everything 1,000 times like slower, and they saw the muscles on his body moving and like what was he actually doing. And when he was playing super fast, he was actually very tense. You know, his whole body was under a lot of tension, except for his wrists and fingers, which was completely loose. So, and I feel like it's very, very similar. So when I do this, I'm like playing fast. My whole body's under a lot of stress, but the fingers and wrists are like almost not involved at all. And then eventually the left hand is a little bit tricky to add, but the problem is with the, so like now I explained how it works with the right hand from the molar, but usually you're not really using a lot of molar with your left hand because you would be using either a straight wrist or a straight fingers. But I'm also doing this with my left hand, of course. So I'm just gonna quickly change sides. But the whole idea is exactly the same, and it's just the way that I developed molar for my left hand is that I was doing a lot of just single stroke rolls. And I was obviously getting tired. My hands, wrists, and fingers were, you know, feeling fatigued. And I was doing these accents with my right hand, a kind of a small molar accent to help me a little bit keep up with the tempo. So I was hearing the click track going, pum, 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 the metronome. 1, 2, 3, 4. And then I'm like, okay, so every fourth hit, every second hit. 1, 2, 3, 4, 1. And I found out that just doing this molar kind of helps me shake off the pain, okay? So I felt like I'm getting tired during these endurance runs, and I was like just doing this, and then it felt a little bit easier to survive. And then like, how about I try to do that with my left, okay? And as you can see right now, I cannot do it with my left at all on its own. I can do it together with both. When my both hands are involved in a single stroke roll, I can do it. When I do it with my right hand, no problem. Both hands, no problem. Left on its own, losing control. And that's because my left hand needs guidance from the right one. So my left hand feels more comfortable in combination with the right one than on its own. And this is another concept that I keep talking about all the time. The relationship between the right and the left hand, with this being the leading limb and this being the following limb. So the following limb, when the left one plays in pair with the right one, it assumes a completely different role than when it plays on its own. Because when you use your left one on its own, it's the leading hand. It's the same as using the right one on its own. And when you play together, it's not the same. The brain perceives the left hand in a different way. And that's why the left one kind of relies on the right one. The right one is the beacon, in the darkness, shining through the dark, showing the way to the left one. And I'm having a hard time doing this for my left on its own. When I do this, it's much easier, okay? So, and then basically what I was trying to also like shake off the pain for the left hand with this kind of a molar, and then it turned out into this bread cutter thing, and then eventually I was using this technique in my blast beats. The only problem is what you need to kind of try to focus on is hit the minimum like surface, center of the snare, because if you're going to be moving your elbow a lot, it's almost inevitable that you're going to be hitting different spots all the time, which gonna result in your sound kind of suffering a little bit, But honestly, I don't find this such a huge problem. Also like the dynamics, it feels like it's da-da, 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 like, it's kind of like this. It's not consistent like this. But the difference is so small, and eventually you can kind of even it out. It was never a problem for me. But thanks to the involvement of chest, shoulder, and elbow muscles, it improves the endurance so much. And you don't have to like literally do anything. You just have to make sure that you relax as much as possible and just do this. And I know it looks super weird. It looks like I'm about to die and explode because of tension, but it's honestly a very, very relaxed and chill technique. You just need to make sure that you know how to apply it properly so that you spend minimum energy on just, keep going and relaxing. And it's something very weird and interesting that I, let's say, developed over the years. So that's basically the whole story. Sorry if it took a little bit longer than I thought it would.
Oh, it's all good, man.
Man, I was not expecting that out of that question. Thank you very much for taking the time to demonstrate that and show how fucking nuts you are, man. That's incredible. Absolutely incredible. Yeah. And I do want to...
The coolest thing, sorry, just one last thing that I'm going to say. The coolest thing about it is that I never, let's say, I never tried to develop something like this on purpose. It just happened because of how much I was practicing, the way I was practicing, and then like all of a sudden one day I tried to analyze my own technique and I'm like, okay, so this is what I'm doing. Pretty weird. I don't see a lot of people do that, so that's basically how it is.
Well, you just pointed out you analyze your own technique, and that's something that every drummer should do, absolutely. And I do want to bring up, I had heard on one of your Instagram videos. Follow this gentleman on Instagram; he posts incredible content for sure. I do want to point out, you had mentioned kind of in passing that you feel yourself to be a soft hitter, like your strikes aren't super impactful, but they're dominant in a way. Is that something that you noticed when you were analyzing your critique, or something that's just kind of stuck with you ever since you've been playing?
No, definitely not. This one is something that I've developed on purpose. So I did mention this maybe in some other videos. I took the whole idea from Inferno, from Behemoth, and I saw him performing with the band a few times live. And also, like, almost like if you watch some older live footage, you can see that he's not hitting that hard. At least he used to not hit too hard. And they're playing like also like super fast 270 to 80 BPM songs. At least back in the past, they played like all that fast stuff. And he was always kind of like, obviously there's a physical limit. When you're playing blast beats, you cannot really play much harder and faster than at certain BPM. You're not going to be slamming it like so much. This, especially, like, we're talking mostly about the snare drum, okay? So the snare drum is mostly the biggest problem. Because kicks, okay, you slap on triggers, that's it. You're a cheater, that's it, but you sound good, okay? Yeah, cymbals are loud anyway. So snare drum is usually the biggest problem. What I see with a lot of drummers that, they're going to be like smashing that snare on breakdown, slow stuff. as soon as it goes to the blast beat, the snare just disappears. You know, in a live situation, it's very hard to control. Inferno, on the other hand, so he wasn't never playing the snare very hard when he was playing the blast. But what's even more interesting is that he was holding back a lot when he was playing the slow stuff. Okay, so you see the slow stuff, and he's like very, very kind of gentle, and like, okay, that's interesting. And then he plays the blast, and it's the same velocity. And the whole idea is that the overall volume of the snare is basically always low, which kind of gives the opportunity for the sound guy to crank it up. So it's like he can make the volume very, very loud, and he's always going to be like, you know, he doesn't need to be afraid that he's going to like just slam that rim shot and the PA explodes. So basically this is something that Inferno does, like it's a kind of a good cooperation with the sound guy, that you control your own volume of the snare with your technique. Okay, so you mix and balance the volume of your strokes on each drum on your own before it gets compressed and, you know, mic'd up and go through the PA. Okay, it does help for the sound guy, so the sound guy basically has an easier time mixing you and making you sound very good live, because you kind of almost sound like you're triggering your own snare drum with your technique. So, and this is something that, in my opinion, is a very good skill that people should learn who are into this kind of extreme metal drumming. And this is something that I tried to also work on a lot in the past. So the snare goes as soft as you can, because you want to even out the volume with every stroke. And another obviously advantage of that is that the softer you hit, you can kind of go a little bit easy on the energy levels. Okay, so if you're going to be like Eli Casagrande, you know, destroying the kit, then most likely you're going to get tired. And if you try to do a Casagrande blast beat at 270, call the ambulance. Okay, it's most likely you're not gonna survive that. You know, you're just gonna run out. Especially, it's dangerous in a live situation when there's like the show is going on, a lot of people, and you get excited. Adrenaline is an enemy in this case, because you get excited. You're like, hell yeah, we're killing it, and that's it. As soon as you're in that mindset, that's it. You might find out that you're not going to be able to pull off the show, because like by like half of it, that's it. You're out of energy, and you have to calm down. I know that maybe it's exciting. You're playing Wembley Stadium, whatever, but you have to calm down and, you know, save your energy for till the end of the show, and then you can die. Okay. So, and with the like another thing with the toms, I just wanted to quickly say that most of the time I try to tune them low, or not like as low as possible, but definitely lower than the snare. And that's why they don't obviously offer any rebound. So with the toms, you have to use a lot of wrist, and you have to hit hard. If the tom skins are very loose, in order to make them sound good, you have to really smash them. And that's the thing that I also try to incorporate, hitting the snare soft, and when I go on a tom roll, I just try to squeeze out as much power as I can from like a fast roll. So it's hard to do because you get tired, but it's a short burst, you know. And then what you do is, if you do a short burst on toms, you have the luxury to put more juice into it, to put more effort, because you're not going to get that tired. Okay, so, and basically you're making the toms as loud as you can, because the skins are loose, the snare soft, but it's tighter, and then all of that stuff, it's like almost fully triggered drums, you know. And then also go easy on the cymbals. You don't have to smash them, you know, because the cymbals are causing a lot of chaos. And then, you know, you're basically offering the sound guy already a mixed and nice balanced drum kit sound, because you have so many different elements as a drummer in comparison to a singer or a guitar player or whatever. So it's not that, and it's all acoustic, you know. So most of it is acoustic. So you have to, if you do this pre-processing work on your own, the sound guy has an easier job, and the overall sound is going to be better.
So I want to go back to a couple more things here, away from drums for a few more. Yeah, away from drums. I do want to give a shout out to your brother Peter, because I did catch one of your live videos, you, Peter, and there was another guy eating chicken wings, and this man he couldn't do it. So big shout out to Peter. But I do want to go back to like your story of moving from Vital Remains to Fleshgod Apocalypse, because you've played for a lot of big influential bands, at least in my life anyway. When it came to drumming and everything else. So Eugene, that was playing for smaller bands, jumps to Vital Remains. That is fucking insane. And the first time that I actually got to see who Eugene was it's been a long time ago actually. I'm a big Decapitated fan. I love Decapitated. Shout out to those guys. And I watched this video of this long-haired guy that wasn't usually the drummer for Decapitated playing Spheres of Madness, and I said, "Holy fuck, this guy's nice with it." Because I mean, it's such a simple song, man. But the way that you played it, it was just easy, super easy.
You mean you saw the video that I posted playing that song?
Yeah. I was scrolling through Facebook, and I'm follow a lot of metal groups and everything, and this is probably 3-4 years ago, maybe.
No. You mean the live footage from the gig?
Yeah.
No, because I played only 11 shows with them, and all of those were summer 2019.
Damn, I feel stupid.
Yeah, I did Decapitated covers in the past at home, but I was not playing with the band, and I played with the band only in 2019. And I did post a Spheres of Madness live video, and I think it was posted on Christmas, something like beginning of 2020, right before I joined Fleshgod, by the way. So like December 2019, maybe, I think so, not sure. And it's just like a cool thing I have to comment here, because you said like, such an easy song. Yes, I do. I think out of all the Decapitated songs that I played with the guys, that's the easiest, should be. And guess what? At the same time, that was the song we practiced the most. It was absolutely mental, yeah, because that song is so slow. It's 160-ish, I think, the whole time. It's like this. And we were playing the song half speed. So we were playing 80 BPM, like, and we were literally taking like one single riff, maybe the beginning, I don't remember which one, and we were playing just that one riff for 2-3 hours on the loop all the time. It was so exhausting because there are a lot of different elements in the performing with that band that have almost nothing to do with technique. There's like a lot about feeling and groove and dragging and sounding heavy. It's just, if I can just talk about rehearsing with Decapitated for like 5 hours now. Okay, so let's just stop here. Okay.
But now, man, like the Spears of, I bring up Spears of Madness because that's what made me really go toward Decapitated. Just to dig that shit was fucking amazing, man. And we've got Eugene with small bands, Vital Remains. Where do you go from Vital Remains with your success to get to Fleshgod Apocalypse?
Oh, you want me to like summarize the journey?
Yeah, man. Oh yeah, it's awesome, man. It's awesome.
Yeah, I do believe, like the first time when I got the Vital gig, it was a huge leap. And I am feeling very, very lucky, and I'm very grateful because I got that offer by like just pure coincidence, like a chance. I got just contacted on Facebook by the band because they saw some stuff I posted on YouTube, some of me performing with some other bands. So like some small stuff. And I say the chances for you to have a big band like Vital Remains knocking on your door and say, hey, we saw you play, how about you do a tour with us, something like this. It's a very small chance this is going to happen, So of course I would accept that kind of offer because it looks, it's a big deal. And you need to kind of try to slowly build up, let's say, your career as a musician, if that's your goal, like what I did. So I was very happy, and honestly, I'm super glad that I did, like I started building up my, let's say, name as a drummer with all the social media and stuff, because eventually you do a tour with this band, you go bigger, you get more offers, then you do a Vital Remains gig, okay? So that's a game changer. After you do the Vital Remains tour, now much more, like many people know you already, and then you get even more offers. And then this whole thing kind of led to Belphegor. So I got the Belphegor gig from Simon Schilling, who was playing drums for them right before me. And I think he was already, he knew that he's gonna leave. And they already talked about that with the other guys in the band. And he was just like, yeah, guys, but I'm like sticking around till we find a good replacement, whatever. So, and then I met him by accident at a gig for the first time ever. It was a gig here in Vienna, a local gig. And he was just there hanging out. And I didn't even remember how he looked. I know who he was, and he just came there and he said, "Oh, hey Eugene, what's up?" He just shook my hand and he left. And I was like, "Who is this guy?" And then like, "Oh, that's Simon from Belfagor." I'm like, "Holy shit, really? That was him?" And then a week later, I got a message from Belfagor, and they said, "Oh, Simon actually suggested you so that we get in touch." And he just probably he saw me at the gig and he said, "Oh yeah, there's this Eugene guy. Maybe he would be interested. I'm gonna maybe recommend him. And that's how I got the Belfagor gig. So that was amazing. And then from Belfagor, when I did the Decapitated thing back in 2019 when I was in Decapitated, the bass player of Decapitated, Hubert, my good friend, I'm playing in another band with him, which is his band where he plays guitar. So, and I knew him for many years, and he actually recommended me to Decapitated because I already played with him in his other band. So that was like kind of a pretty obvious thing. And then the Fleshgod story you already know. I told you about this violation thing. So yeah, that's basically it.
Well, I mean, like, I'm not meaning to be rude when I say this, but you're not a lucky guy, okay? Who were like you, you're one of the top drummers in my opinion because of your work ethic and the content that you post all the time. You're always working to improve something, and you're putting out this amazing content. Like you're up here with like guys like John Longstreth, in my opinion. You're constantly doing something to improve you as a musician, drummer, and continuing to go up. Like who works harder than Eugene at this point? I don't know. What John Longstreth, I know he does. I mean, he's always posting good content. He's always doing these murder hand videos, and I mean, so I don't look at it as you're a lucky guy. Who works harder than Eugene, right? Who work? You're up here with.
Okay, let's say if you don't agree with me being lucky, that luck played a big role. I do agree that, of course, you have to put the hard work in it. But if I want to force this whole luck thing, on me, I'm just going to at least tell you one thing. What I feel lucky about is that I think I am very lucky that I was able to find the stuff that became my passion, what I really love to do at a relatively maybe early age, So like a few years ago when I was already doing this drum stuff, both playing drums and making like content and videos, I kind of came up to that. It came to that point when I thought this is what I want to do, and I'm like 99% sure that this is what I want to do till my very last breath, So, and that's why I think I'm lucky because let's say maybe I can say that I know people who are much older than I am, and they're still kind of like they haven't decided what they want to do with their lives, and they say like, man, I don't know, I want to try this and I want to try that. And for some people, it takes years and years and years to find their passion and find what they want to do with their lives. And I kind of made up my mind years ago, and that's why I consider myself lucky that it was somehow easy. It found me, and I found it.
Right. No, I mean, I completely agree. I just, when it comes to like, when I see you, like, you're always posting something about drums. And like, you're always putting out extremely good content. Like, it's obvious to me that you sit and you work, I'm going to say at least 75% of your day improving something or posting something, a song that is fucking technical, hard as fuck, will probably kill your average drummer. And I mean, so I mean, like, I get the lucky aspect of it, man. But it's like your work ethic is fucking
speaks for itself.
Way up here, man. And I mean, it does speak for itself.
That's only because how much I love doing what I do. So if you think that you didn't achieve results because you didn't put enough hard work into it, then maybe you need to question yourself, do you really want to put so much work into it? Because there's like, you cannot achieve anything. I mean, most of the good stuff that you can achieve can be done with a lot of hard work. It's the question is, are you willing to put in the hard work? And if it's something that you really, really love, then putting a lot of hard work is not that hard. So as they say, find something to do that you love, and you're never going to work for a single day in your life. Basically, that's it.
Which I mean, with a lot of hard work comes a lot of great sacrifice too. A lot of great sacrifice. So I mean, like, oh man, I don't know. I could talk to you all day about drums, man, but just like breaking down your success in figuring out what you want, and then boom, immediately you watch it happen. It's crazy, man, because I don't know. I have no idea, Eugene. You're just fucking awesome, man. You're fucking awesome.
Yeah. Yeah, but it is tough. Like, it's if you wanna if it's gonna make you feel better, I'm gonna just tell you that most of the stuff that people see of me online posting, that's usually, the tip of the iceberg, obviously, and most of it is just the good stuff. There's like a lot of tears, blood, and sweat that you don't see, and it's for the best that you don't see. I don't mind talking about my problems, my struggles. I suffered from burnouts, I suffered from depression, a lot of struggles, and you might think like, oh, this guy, he achieved this and he's that, like he has no reason to be depressed or to be sad or to lose motivation, whatever. But that's not true, because it's always relative. You're as a human being, you only you can define what makes you happy, and things you do. It's not, other people cannot tell, what should make you happy. And the same as like with, let's say, looking for problems and trouble. This is something that human beings always do. Even if you think that you have everything in your life, you're always gonna be, unhappy with something, So of course, that's okay. And as long as you understand that and you accept that, then it's gonna be easier. But everybody is struggling,
So
in one way or another.
my next question for you, man, it could relate to a lot of drummers everywhere. How you balance this constant, pristine drumming, always working on that, mixing with studies. How people could balance that, their work life, their personal life, and everything else. How does Eugene keep this constant level of very, very high level of drumming mixed with your everyday life and Fleshgod and everything else?
Mm-hmm. Well, once again, it's priorities. You have to figure it out for yourself. What do you actually want to do in life? So I'm interesting that how you mentioned studies, because I'm still like kind of this veteran student type, who's been in school forever, and I still haven't finished it. And the reason for that, obviously, is like a few years ago when all the touring kicked in, started, and then I kind of started neglecting school more and more and more. And I'm just happened to be lucky that they didn't kick me out. So as long as I pay the fee, or as long as I can stay here in the university, that's at least a good thing, because it's been like forever since I did some courses and exams. So I was like busy with music, and now since COVID's happened, I actually came back to a little bit of doing some university stuff this semester. So right now I have like a crazy deadline tomorrow. I have another crazy deadline on Thursday or something, a presentation, another one. So I'm super like preoccupied now with my studies again. And it's just like a little bit weird because it's so unusual for me. I've already forgotten how it is, what's the feeling of actually studying stuff. So, and then, I'm trying to also like build my name as a drummer, as maybe posting all of the content that I still post, and make it partially as my job as well, having some income from doing lessons, from filming stuff, recording albums, and going on tours. Right now, going on tours, that's not an option at all. So take this time off to focus on things that you never had time for. For me, for example, like university, good thing. I started paying more attention to my health lately. I try to eat a bit better, move around a little bit more, and that overall increases my productivity. You know, I feel like I am very, very energized throughout the whole day, and thanks to that, I can even plan my day much better. So, like, say, every day I have to do a little bit of this and that and that. So, like, and I try to schedule and plan everything ahead as much as I can, especially when it comes to posting content and recording material. So let's say going to the studio, doing some drum videos and stuff like this. Right now in Vienna, I don't even have my drum kit. I don't have my practice room, nothing. All of my stuff is in Ukraine. So if I go there, and I have to like record stuff ahead, a year ahead, like 10 videos, whatever, and then I post them slowly, you know, gradually every month, one video or something like this, so that it's like evenly distributed throughout the year or something. Like right now with the lockdown, the last lockdown we had, I haven't been home. I haven't seen my drum kit for a year and a half at all. So like basically that was almost no drumming for a year and a half. And so that's why, you know, you have to think about it a lot. Think what you want from this life, what you want to do, because there's only 24 hours a day. So you got to sleep, you got to eat, you know, you got to have some whatever life you want to have. And then the stuff that you need to do, you need to do some work, you need to do some studies and whatever you want to do. So yeah. And I just wanted to say that my life is usually chaos with tours and stuff. It's all like unpredictable. You go on a tour for a month. In that 1 month, you have absolutely no clue what's going on in the world. You come back home like from waking up from a dream, and then 3 months, it's like nothing. You sit at home and you're like, when's the next tour and what's going on, you know? And it's like clue. You don't have a 9 to 5 office job, you know. So and right now with COVID, like every day is almost the same because you cannot go anywhere. You're like always at home. My life actually kind of looks much normal, more normal than before. And that's why right now I am more busy than before. Because I was like, okay, now I have all this time. I know how to plan my days because there are no unpredictable trips and tours. So I'm like literally every hour of my day almost is planned to the last minute. That right now I eat, right now I go there and I do this and I do that. So honestly, I am being very productive and I'm very happy that I didn't despair, you know, with this COVID happening. Of course, it sucks because we don't do shows and stuff, but still, you know, I'm more productive and more busy than ever, surprisingly. So.
So that was what I wanted to get to next with the with COVID and everything. How does that, you being away from your drum kit for over a year, how does that implement? Because I know Fleshgod has played like what, one or two shows.
One show this year.
One show. So how has that affected you and Fleshgod with only being able? I assume you only have like your pad and like pad for your pedals,
Yeah.
the blaster pad and everything. So how does that affect going from just a pad to we have a show next week, getting to actually practice?
Yeah. Well, you know, if luckily we have a show next week, this is like all of a sudden things they don't happen. I mean, I know that we are going to have a show, let's say in a few months or in a year, and I'm just like fingers crossed it's not going to get canceled because of like some new whatever breakout and some outbreak, and yeah. So when it comes to practicing, this is something that I've also talked about in previous videos. For me, when you're on tour, when you're preparing for a studio recording, whatever, you have to. I prefer to usually go through like bigger chunks of like practice blocks. I grind a lot for hours every day. Let's say 4 or 5 hours of practice. Sometimes, like 6 hours of playing every day for 2 weeks is no big deal, and then we're working on the same songs, or it's just like 2, 3 songs, 6 hours every day. So I know that some people don't like to practice a lot. Some people actually play 12 hours daily. And then usually after like you practice, you prepare, you go on tour, you do the tour or the studio album, whatever that is, and then you have this long gap of nothing. What I described previously, that life is kind of like chaotic. It's not a Monday to Friday office job. And for some reason, it affects me in a very good way. So like I am never suffering of this kind of a getting out of shape feeling, you know. So obviously, if you have a longer gap of 3 months, whatever, you come back, you sit behind the kit, everything feels very weird. So it's like, what's going on? Like it's like the first time you're playing drums. But then it comes back rather soon. Okay, so you.
It says something about 7 seconds remaining. 6, 5, 4.
Might
Three,
might be a
four, two,
two-parter.
one.